Hello and welcome to Global News Factory. I am your host Vikrant. We're covering three topics in this video. First, we discuss a massive rift in Zelensky's own party. A rebel faction has emerged, which is now pressing Zelensky to fire the chief of the presidential office, Andrii Yermak. And then we go to Lithuania, where a high IQ minister has urged EU to step up aid to Ukraine because, in his view, only more aid, more support to Ukraine can stop the corruption. And in the end, we talk about growing anger in Ukraine military and why some Russian commentators are predicting a military rule in Ukraine very soon. So let's begin. Kyiv's power game is shaking and the table might flip. Zelensky's government may collapse anytime now. Why? Because the Mindich files blew open a rift inside the ruling camp. The crack runs straight through one man, who is Andrii Yermak, the head of the president's office. Yesterday here at JNF, we told you how he is now being directly accused of orchestrating the $100 million scandal in the energy sector. The number is big, the anger is bigger, and yes, the rift revolves around Yermak. This is not street gossip, this is now being reported by Ukrainska Pravda. According to the outlet, most members of the ruling faction want Yermak dismissed. They expect anti-corruption agencies to move on him very soon. You don't need to be an expert to see the problem here. If agencies go after a sitting head of the presidential office, it won't look good on the government. So, it looks like your goalkeeper being investigated during a penalty shootout. Confidence falls, fans boo, scoreboard suffers. Over the past week, Zelensky has held meetings with key members of his team to stabilize things after this scandal emerged. Some of these meetings were public, cameras saw the faces, names were clear. He met Prime Minister Yulia Sviridenko, he met Deputy Prime Minister Mikhail Fedorov, he met the head of Defense Intelligence Kirilo Budanov, and there were others. Now, as per sources quoted by Ukrainska Pravda, almost all of them said the same thing: fire Yermak immediately. Let me quote from the report. According to people familiar with the conversations at those meetings, most of those who had been asked by the president offered different recommendations for resolving the crisis, but almost all of them, without coordinating with each other, advised replacing the head of the president's office, Andrii Yermak, unquote. Now that is not a whisper, that is a chorus. The report said it was easier to count the MPs in the ruling Servant of the People party who still support Yermak. Translation: the loyalist bus is now a bicycle. And there is this warning too. The source said, I'm quoting again, there is no direct blackmail, of course, but if this does not happen, meaning Yermak is not dismissed, the faction will fall apart on its own, unquote. Now that is the quiet voice of an exploding bomb. So here is the big picture. If Yermak is not fired soon, most MPs may revolt. That would push the government off the cliff. Inside the party, a new faction has already emerged. It is led by David Arakamia and Danilo Hetmantsev. They have a name ready for their tent: the Coalition of the Willing. Sounds like they are not waiting for permission, sounds like they brought their own chairs to the meeting. But here is the twist. As we disclosed yesterday, Yermak is not easy to be dismissed. He has the secrets of the Zelensky empire, not just passwords, the map to the vault. If Nabu arrests Yermak, the fall of Zelensky could be very fast. So in my opinion, Yermak may choose the Mindich way. He may flee the country, he may go underground forever, and in the worst case, Yermak may be eliminated altogether. Cold words, but my friends, that is the mood. Because if Yermak stays in Ukraine, this will likely lead to the collapse of the government and the fall of the Zelensky empire. So where are we today? We have $100 million scandal. We have a ruling camp split. We have ministers and spies whispering the same advice. And we have one man standing at the center, holding keys that can unlock the palace or blow it up. Stay tuned. Moving on, we have words of wisdom from Lithuania's foreign minister, Kęstutis Budrys. Yes, the high IQ minister who thinks logic is a gym exercise. Oh, stay away. He looked at the recent scandal in Ukraine and said Europe should give Ukraine even more support. Can you believe it? A house is on fire and his fix is add more wood. Brilliant. Let me quote this minister for you first. I'm quoting. This is a reason for Europe. This means the scandal is a reason for Europe to help Ukraine even more so that such things do not happen. Unquote. Oh, I did not make this up. That is the line. The logic is simple, like a circle drawn by a drunk compass. The way to stop corruption in Ukraine is to give them more money and aid. If your wallet keeps getting stolen, obviously carry more cash. Problem solved. And it does not stop there. He says the EU should immediately start accession talks with Ukraine so Europe can fix the mess and strengthen the country's institutions. Translation: move the broken car straight into your garage and then figure out why it doesn't start. What could go wrong? Now let's talk responsibility. Fixing corruption in Ukraine is not the EU's headache. It is the first and foremost job of Zelensky. He is the president. This is his desk. This is his pen. On this score, he has failed to fulfill his duties completely. You will never hear these fine people say a single sharp word about Zelensky. Not one. Instead, they are busy building a guilt trip highway for EU citizens. Oh, you don't support Ukraine's accession, then you, dear taxpayer, are responsible for the corruption in Ukraine. That is the emotional blackmail with a blue flag sticker. First, these same people blamed Russia for Ukraine's corruption. They said the Soviet-style governing structure created all the bad habits. Fine, that was yesterday's story. Today's story is different. Now they guilt trip Europe for not writing a bigger check. Yesterday it was Moscow did it. Today it is Brussels did not pay enough. Tomorrow it will be you did not clap loudly. There is always a new villain. There is never a mirror. Meanwhile, the elephant in the room is doing cartwheels and no one will point at it. The elephant's name is Volodymyr Zelensky. If the country is literally swimming in scandals, leadership must answer. That is how grown-up systems work. You do not fix trust by hiding accountability. You fix trust by facing it loudly with receipts. Moving on. In the first segment, we showed the big crack inside Zelensky's house, the ruling party. Now, even the roof is shaking. Ukraine's own military community is speaking up, and the target is not Moscow, it is Zelensky and his commander-in-chief, Oleksandr Syrsky. When soldiers start using their outside voice, you know the fire alarm is real. You can see this anger on several platforms inside Ukraine. One loud example is the Telegram page Ukrainian Militant. Now, this page usually keeps politics quiet. It avoids loud statements. But now it has gone after the top command. The allegation is sharp. Fighters were doomed to die because no one gave a timely order to leave the semi-encircled city of Pokrovsk. That is not a small claim, that is a siren. Now, as per the page authors, the need to abandon positions in Pokrovsk was obvious 2 weeks ago. Small groups of defenders could not do the real defensive job under constant enemy pressure. Keeping troops in that city made no operational sense and no strategic sense. Their main complaint is simple: the order for an organized withdrawal never came. No corridor for retreat was created. There was almost no help to the fighters. Attempts to rotate or resupply were blocked because, as they put it, Russia had complete control over the approaches to Pokrovsk. Under these conditions, servicemen held their positions till the last moment, while Russian groups kept infiltrating day after day and losses piled up on the Ukraine's side. So this is what happened in Pokrovsk. People in Ukraine are watching this and drawing their own conclusions. More and more, they see managerial incompetence in the military command and in Zelensky personally. His orders, carried out by Syrskyi, have, in their eyes, turned Pokrovsk and Mirnograd into one big mass grave. Mass grave is the word used by them. That is the quote, my friends. That is the mood in Ukraine, in the community. It is not just online noise. A few days back, a member of the Ukrainian armed forces even joined anti-Zelensky protests in Kyiv. When uniforms start mixing with placards, the message gets very clear, very fast. Also, I follow many pro-Russia commentators on Telegram, and a lot of them are now predicting a military regime in Ukraine soon. Is that dramatic? Yes. Is it possible? Well, after this week, nothing sounds impossible. If Zelensky continues with this attitude towards the military, those predictions may not stay as predictions. They might become the evening news. Well, my friends, that is all for today's episode. Thank you very much for joining. You're watching JNF.